Yeah, the gist of it. Is that good?
Anybody else have anything to add?
It's the second one in the morality path. Um, the morality path being what you say, what you do, and how you make your money. Um, these are things that are um, outside of ourselves. So it has to do with the world outside of us.
Yep. Oh, that's good stuff. Anybody else? All right, Instructor Nate or Instructor Said, did you guys have anything?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything, so we'll get started. So this week spoke in the Eightfold or in the called the Dharma Wheel or the Eightfold Path is Right Livelihood. And the crux of Right Livelihood is that it is your connection to community as well as your outlet or your expression to demonstrate right speech and right action on a community level. So normally, when we partake in speech, it's normally one-on-one or one to a small collective, as well as right action is normally for another person or, you know, we're taking suffering away from another person or a small group of people. But right livelihood is how you make your money. And normally in jobs, you are connected to a vast amount of people. So it's kind of like the next step up from right speech and right action. Anybody got any questions or comments so far? All right, so this is the third and last one in the morality path as well. So we will be moving out of the path of morality and going into the path of meditation, which is to me more interesting than the morality path. So right livelihood deals with the way that you earn a living and ensuring that the way that you do earn a living doesn't harm yourself or others. And the Buddha listed, or before we go to that, does anybody remember the 5 precepts that we talked about last week?
Can you repeat that question?
I said, does anybody remember the 5 precepts that we talked about last week? So we talked about the 4 noble truths in the Eightfold Path being, a very foundational concept. And the other foundational concept is the 5 precepts.
Yeah, I remember you touching on it briefly, but no, I do not remember that.
Anybody else remember?
I think I have 4 of them, if this is what you're referring to. Not killing, not stealing, um, no sexual misconduct, not abusing substances, and I think I'm missing one, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's it. And the last one is lying.
Lying.
Yep. So
Okay, thank you.
that's part of why this morality path is so important, and especially right action that we talked about last week, because right action has 3 of the 5 precepts, and the other one is lying, which is right speech, and then the other one of the 5 is not indulging in intoxicants or drugs. So those are the 5 precepts which would, be relegated to us, is for lay people, people who aren't, monks or monastic or nuns. And, it's how we conduct ourselves in the world. So based upon those 5 precepts, the right livelihood basically is right in line with those 5 precepts. So the businesses that we should avoid are businesses that deal in weapons. So selling weapons basically. And that's basically not killing. Trade in human beings, which is slavery or prostitution, which is inclusive of no sexual misconduct. Meat production or butchery, which is also killing. Business in poison or intoxicants, which is part of the 5 precepts. And no businesses that involve you having to lie, cheat, or fraud people for a living. And these 5 precepts are primarily a matter of avoiding work that has harmful consequences for the worker or the one who purchased the product or service. Work is an extension of our identity, and it's a way to express ourselves. So we can see how right livelihood fits into this entire Eightfold path, because now you have even a greater access to either cause or alleviate suffering, because you have access to more people. Normally when you're in whatever livelihood you choose versus just being in the world. Anybody have any questions, comments so far?
You can see how not adhering to right thought, right speech, and right action is playing out before us, and the importance of adhering to these if you want to have a peaceful and sustainable culture and society.
Are you talking about as it pertains to right livelihood or just in general?
I mean, in general, just looking around this environment and the things that are said about people and the things that people are paid to do and things of that sort, and the lies. You can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't have to be based on any kind of truth. And
Right. But we do have fact checkers these days, so. I'm just trying. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Yeah, if not, so and this one is actually on my end is going to be, shorter, because it's pretty much straightforward. It's not heavily philosophical. It's not deep. So like the next 3 are more philosophical, more in depth, but the path of morality is pretty much straightforward. Do this, don't do that. So I also have a quote from, world-renowned Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of him, but he actually spoke on right livelihood, and I thought his quote was pretty good. So he said, "To practice right livelihood, you have to find a way to earn your living without transgressing your ideals of love and compassion. The way you support yourself can be an expression of your deepest self, or it can be a source of suffering for you and others. Our vocation can nourish our understanding and compassion, or erode them. We should be awake to the consequences." And by consequences, he doesn't necessarily mean just the bad things, but basically just the cause and effect of what we do. It can be a source of suffering for you and others. Our vocation can nourish our understanding and compassion, or erode them. We should be awake to the consequences far and near of the way we earn our living. So, you know, a lot of people, especially here, they put money over everything. So as long as, you know, we make $1, you know, it doesn't matter if we ruin the environment, if we, you know, kill animals in the process, and, you know, none of that is right livelihood. And it creates negative karma, you know, and karma just means action. So whatever action you partake in, is it beneficial? Is it causing suffering, or is it taking away suffering? And that's pretty much what it comes down to. Anybody got any questions or comments on that statement?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to the subject a lot. Being in finance and almost going the investment banking route, it's definitely a lot of bad energy and kind of like these bad karmic expressions through investment banking. You know, a lot of screwing over people, kind of this dog eat dog foundation, and just in the world of finance, it's a thin line in between those two sides. So I can definitely relate to the topic for sure.
So how do you rectify that by being in finance and
Yeah,
banking,
so
having the
um,
knowledge of the Eightfold Path?
right. So I more so moved to the wealth management side instead of being on the banking side. So now I'm more so helping the individuals and more so client base rather than helping the big corporations. And you know, there are a lot of individuals who are doing bad work, but that's why my aim is to get my own firm so I can be in the control of the employees or the clients that I'm taking care of as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I like the sound of that. And that's another thing too, is that, you know, a lot of people who we encounter, they don't have any guide or moral compass to live by. So it's like they just do whatever, you know, to get ahead. And that's another one of those things that we talked about with, you know, society and those things that are automatic, you know, is like get ahead however possible. Like that's like the society or the world that we got dropped into. So now that we have this knowledge of the Eightfold Path, it's up to us to overwrite those automatic programming. And that's a part of it, is starting with, you know, the right views, the right thought, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Makes sense. Total sense.
I think that's the major crux of right livelihood, because it brings in it becomes philosophical when you have to deal with um, pretty much what Emerson was saying, just talking about how do you manage your clients like that. So Emerson, if you have a client, you got your own firm, and your client is doing work that from your moral compass isn't ethical, how do you deal with that? Do you still do business with them? So, and I mean, one of my clients, which is BASF, the huge chemical company, and I'm always at their giant factory in Wyandotte, probably about 60 buildings there, and the whole field is bad for the environment. So I was there Friday. Was it Thursday or Friday? I was there, and it's like, and I'm looking at all this, thinking about what we've been talking about and working on, like, how do you reconcile this? These are questions. Is it a bad thing that I'm working on their networking side? Maybe it's not. So these are the philosophical questions we need to answer. And I think that's the big crux of dealing with this right livelihood, because there are no definitive yeses and nos. You have to see what feels right for you and what you can live with in your life, and what you can hold true in. And I guess to put it in somewhat religious terms, when you weigh your heart at your death, do you know how do you measure that? Is your conscience clean? Like, okay, I walked the correct path and I was true to my heart. So again, to me, those are the real philosophical things in this right livelihood, and it can go deep as you want it to go.
Right. And I was going to say another piece of it is that it is on top of the foundation of right views and right intention. So,
Hmm.
you know,
For sure.
if your intention is not to harm, then that, you know, that's what it's about. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
What do you do if you live inside of a beast that you know is going around just gobbling, eating people and devouring people up? I feel like, I have a responsibility from the inside of that beast to try to stop it as best I can. That's what my moral compass is. And how do you determine your right view inside of the belly of the beast?
New York?
What'd you say, Simon?
I said, are you in New York?
It's just, I'm in America.
Right.
Okay, I lived in New York for so long. I was like, why does it sound like he's describing New York?
Oh boy. I don't know. I jump in. I don't. I can't answer that for you. That's again. That was my point. Like at the end of your days, if you can walk with a clean conscience and say, hey, based on where I was with the views and the intentions and everything I had, you know, I can stand up and say, hey, I held true. I walked in truth and righteousness to the best of my ability. So there's no definitive answer. You have to answer that. For me, from my perspective. I don't know if you have something, Keith or Nate or anyone.
Yep. No, I was just gonna say, as long as you have the right views and right intention, I mean, is that, and then the suffering piece. Like, while you're there, are you suffering or causing suffering for another?
Point.
If
Yes.
so, then you know it might not be right livelihood for you at the time.
Yep.
Understood.
I think that's a good point. Something I wrote down as a question. I didn't want to jump too far ahead, but jobs that make you miserable, that you struggle and go to work every day and you are miserable. That is not right livelihood. Because
Right.
you are not, you're suffering. And you violating rule number 1 of the Four Noble Truths. Eightfold path. Alleviate the suffering.
Yeah, they talked about one example of a grad student who was going to get his PhD, and he had to perform an experiment on mice. And at the end of the experiment, he had to kill the mice. But because he was learning the Eightfold Path and it, wasn't right action, he declined. And his stand was so strong that he caused the people who were in charge of giving him his PhD to cry and get emotional, that he felt so strongly about, just a small mouse, that he would give up his, right to get his PhD to follow the Eightfold Path. And basically what they allowed him to do was just do a theoretical experiment, not an actual experiment.
Oh,
But
wow.
your stand is, admirable in the eyes of the universe. Like, anybody can just go along with the get along, but it takes a special kind of person to say, hold up, I'm not doing that. That's against my, path of morality. That's not on the Eightfold Path. That's a deviation. I'm not with that.
Yeah. It's about that reflection and that analysis. You got to really break your life apart and analyze each specific portion of it to your viewpoints and your intentions. Am I causing suffering, or am I suffering? In reading some stuff and watching some videos on this on YouTube, I came across one guy talking about. He said the Buddha mentioned acting.
Right. I was going to say that too. I
I
was going to
thought
say,
that was amazing. Go
Kim,
ahead.
Kim, close your ears. Go ahead. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I will.
Oh no, yeah, just that, like talking about acting, and then it made sense after you broke it down. Like, are you causing suffering? And even if I want to say something, that a movie that's promoting some aspect of wisdom, but it's also promoting violence and, you know, maybe misogyny or all these other things, that's something you got to reconcile again. I don't want to say a definitive like that's wrong, but that's something you might have to reconcile. So my whole point again was you have to break down each aspect of your life and right livelihood as well, and see how it measures up to your intentions and views. There are no definitive answers. You have to answer these questions for you.
Right. Yeah. And part of the acting was also too. It could be not right speech or wrong speech because it's partially lies. The feelings and emotion that it evokes in another, as well as in you, because you have to get into character. Like that could also cause suffering based on the part that you have to play.
Yeah.
So, again, but as long as it's founded on right view, right intention, like that's the main thing. Because he also said in the military as well.
Yeah. Yep. Sure did.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Anybody questions, comment? Go ahead.
I'd like to add on to that a little bit. With those right views and right intentions, we have so many different tools in this discipline. It kind of is wild and it blows my mind, but one of the big ones that will help with this is experiencing. Take all those experiences, that beast that you speak about living in, and turn that experience inward to your core. I can't tell you why you live in that beast or anything about it, but you can start to get yourself like a roadmap and start to see what your triggers are, what impulses you have. And once you find something that works for you, you can start to quantify that and start to go back to that part of your universe, because we're a vast universe, right? So the more you get to know yourself, the more you'll get to know the gods that created you. That's one of our mantras. So that's a tool that we can utilize to really help us in this area of right livelihood and how we conduct ourselves and make our money.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, Nate. If I could jump on the back of that and say, hey, it's about being your best self, being your best you. And when you shine and when you vibrating on a high level, things around you get that resonance. So you start affecting affecting the beast just by working on yourself. I know we mentioned this, I think, one of the other calls, but by working on yourself, you affect everything around you. And you don't even necessarily have to do more than that. Just develop yourself. And the higher level you develop yourself and your community, the people on this call, change the world just by working on you.
Yep. Yeah, I was watching another video, and basically what they said was that the critical mass for meditators is just 1%. So they say if you got a village of 500 people and 5 people are meditating, that those 5 meditators affect the village such that the crime rate goes down, just that negativity cannot exist in a high vibrational environment. So, whereas nearly 8 billion people in the world. So whatever 1% is, that's what we need to get to. And that's the critical mass. That's the tipping point that changes society as we know it.
Yeah, and that also brought something to mind. You could say his name for me again. I keep tearing his name up, but the Vietnamese monk you just spoke of.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah, I was tearing his name up, but he was talking about for Right Livelihood. Someone asked him that question. He was like, "Hey, if there was a pine tree outside growing, its job is to be the best pine tree it can be. So if it's growing and it's lively and it's beautiful, it will alleviate suffering." And I'm paraphrasing, but it will alleviate suffering. And just on the opposite end of that, if it was sickly and dying and just looking all messed up, it will cause suffering. So he was saying that to say that is your job, to shine and be beautiful and be the best person you can be and healthy and the whole, well, all the stuff that comes with that. And again, like Keith was just talking about, what's behind that? Right thoughts, right intentions, those things that are the foundation for these principles.
Right, exactly. Man, I wish Paul was here, because that kind of like goes into that conversation that they had about altruism. But
Yay. Yeah.
yeah, that was just to me seemed like a bridge right into it. He's not here, so we can save that discussion for another day. Did anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on how the percentage of people it really takes to change the vibration. And I guess I always thought about it from the negative side, how, people really say like only 10% of the population, or like those 140 people, are the people who control the money in the system. And it's just it's great to hear it the other way, that, 5 meditators can flip it the opposite way. So I'm glad y'all brought that perspective.
Right. So in training, we're literally changing the world, and it's. I mean, I can show you studies. There are several studies, but they have plenty of studies that show that whenever it's a mass meditation that's going on at any time, the crime rate is down. Like just all over the board, domestic violence, armed robbery, murders, like all of that is down whenever it's any, instance of a mass meditation. So we are doing our job.
Makes sense, man. All gratitude to being a part of the process too.
Yeah, sure. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
That reminds me of something that happened here a few months ago. There was a sister. She was just trying to find comfort. She was sleeping on somebody's porch, and the neighbors called the cops on her. You know, and she knew the cops were coming, and she was getting her stuff, but she was upset, agitated, understandably so. And the cops rolled up. There was about 4 or 5 of them. They hopped out the car. I'm sitting on my balcony watching them, and they hop out the car. I can't sit there and just watch this, because I've seen this scenario play down too many times. So I go outside, and I walk up on the cops before they can even probably about 50 yards from her. I just kind of diffuse the situation. I say, look, she's been here for a few days. She hasn't caused any problems. She's upset right now because she has to go, and she's tired. And she kept saying she just wanted to sleep and read. That's all she wanted to do. And they were disarmed. They went over there because they were riled up when they got the car. But when they got over there, they was cool, and they just let her grab her stuff, and she went on about her business. And it's just like a testimony to allowing that calm to calm others.
Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you for doing that. And that's the piece too, is like, just being in this, right, all of these, right, everything, the Eightfold Path, is that you never know how you, being you on this path, can affect others. So your right action, your right speech, your right effort, which we'll go into next week, but how that can affect those around you. So if anything, that should be a motivation to be on this path, because you can positively affect others. So even if you don't do it for you, do it for those around you, because they can truly benefit from, what you do or what you don't do. Anybody else? Questions, comment?
I just wanted to speak to Stefan about what he was initially expressing about living in the belly of the beast and it being America itself. In America, I just wanted to direct attention to and how it's really just people not in the right, not and in that moment of he asked the question, how do you affect it? How do you I think Stefan, and you just told us how you just did it with this young lady on the porch. You know, I think you absolutely know how. I think that it can, sometimes feel like it's closing in on us, but America is beautiful, just like everywhere is beautiful. You can go anywhere and you'll find that, the environment can be the belly of the beast, and it's really that environment is an frequency and an energy being caused by people without the right view. And just, I think that I just wanted to bring attention to what you asked before and what you just actually expressed to us. You actually transformed it in a moment's time. You know how to do it, I think that's all I wanted to say.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a great comment. We appreciate that. Pretty
So,
much, go
can I
ahead.
ask a question real quick? So for Bird, with that situation, what did you do? What's your formula?
I mean, I was compelled to do something because I just felt like I had a sense that this could go downhill, you know. The spirit told me that this can go downhill, and my lived experiences and my experiences I got through other people vicariously, and so I did something. I did something. It wasn't what I thought I should have done necessarily. It wasn't what I would have, if somebody asked me in that situation what I would have done, but I did something because, like I said, I just felt compelled to, and I felt, and I just stayed calm. That was the main thing, though. I didn't get emotional. I was emotional, but I didn't let the emotions control how I moved and interacted with everybody.
Okay, it get contagious. Okay, so
All right. Well, yeah. So, pretty much in closing this right livelihood out, it just kind of sums it up. But work is a manifestation of our spiritual development and is a vehicle for our expression of right view, right thought, right speech, and right action. So, this is kind of like the culmination. So you see, it just keeps building on each other. So now we are affecting more and more people as we go along. So um, just be mindful of the entire path whenever you are in whatever livelihood you are in, or whenever you are choosing whatever livelihood you are choosing at the moment. Yeah, and just not creating any negative karma and um, alleviating suffering and not causing suffering for you or others. That's pretty much what right livelihood is about. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just want to speak on what Salam and Brother Bird was speaking on, and it really takes a special soul to be born in this time in this area and still live by these rules. It's a lot of good reasons for us to live in hate. Being black men and women in this country, and living by these rules is not easy. Like you said, it's almost you can almost say that if you become proficient living these ways, it's almost like you're more official than doing it in the mountains because it's harder. So yeah, it just speaks to it's a real belly of the beast over here. So we just trying to eat our way out, man.
Stated beautifully. Yeah, I feel that.
Knowing the path and living the path are two different things. And I live in the mountains, and sometimes I feel like it kind of separates me from a lot of what goes on. But I can definitely appreciate where you all are coming from. And keep it up, Bird. You're doing good.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just the more of us that are on this path, we can affect those around us, and in turn affect the entire world. So that's pretty much what it's about. Is just lighting that flame and then using your flame to light other flames. All right, but that was pretty much all I had. So questions, comments.
I just have a little add-on with the experiencing. To alleviate suffering, you must go through suffering. So one way to tell that you're getting off the path is if you're nullifying that suffering, that struggle that you go through, that internal struggle of your own. And you have to go through that in order to get to the other side. And then on that other side, there are rewards, but you have to do that in order to help others relieve themselves of their suffering as well. And that's what truly resonates on the inside that everybody else can feel. Because, we're all broken and hurt on the inside one way or another. And when you have that power to relieve your own suffering, you can take it, especially with all this information, you can give it to others. And that resonates with so many people in so many different ways. So this path is so powerful. So keep going, in the right direction. Instructor Cedric once said something about, are you going down the path forward or are you going backwards? Because you can go one direction or the other. So just keep that in mind as we all, continue down this path. And then we'll meet again, next week and continue to discuss it further.
Perfect. Beautifully said. Anybody else?
I appreciate what you just said, Instructor Nathan, that I had a bout with this week. And at one point I was just like, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, there's something on the other side of this, I don't have to sit here and, really pick at the little bones of as much as to push through it and to know that if it wasn't, then it wouldn't, I'd just be like, daisies and rainbows right now. But, so I appreciate that because it's something like every time that moment comes, it's something that we have to recall that, oh, wait, there's something on the other side of this. That's why this is happening. This is a good thing, even though it doesn't feel like a quote unquote good moment.
Agreed, and I appreciate you saying that, Salam, a lot too. It kind of reminds me of a personal mantra I have for myself, which goes, it's only a big deal if I make one out of it. And every time I embrace that, it makes it a lot easier to just go through whatever I'm suffering with or whatever's causing me to struggle. So thank you for always, telling us what you're going through as well and what is helping to empower you, because that doesn't just help us to know that, you're getting something out of it, but it helps everybody else to hear how you might be managing it, because everybody's going through something different. So I appreciate you always, being so willing to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely much appreciated.
So I offer that to the rest of the group. Please add on. Like Nate said, we all learn from that. It helps to expand our sphere of influence, to raise our vibrations, to spread our light, and all the other nice things we talked about.
Okay, so I have something. Within my field of practice with my career, I've worked for a lot of different companies, and I've thought about my clients suffering and me suffering going to particular places. And I'll give you guys some examples. One company that I worked for, they would have us work really fast, and there's no break, seriously, between client to client. And it was so bad that she would book them right behind each other and would tell us to, instead of taking the sheets off and wiping the tables down, to just flip the sheet over. And I'm looking at this lady like, are you freaking serious right now? That is absolutely disgusting. That is unsanitary. And that can cause suffering to the client because you don't know what type of skin people have, or if they're allergic to something that could come from the one person to the next. That's just unsanitary. And then I've worked for a chiropractic office, and getting up every day, going to work, and I am exhausted waking up thinking about going into this place of business. I didn't like what I was wearing because it was all black. It wasn't colorful. It was nothing personal, and they controlled everything about me. And so I left them too. And I have the creepers that can possibly get on my table, and I can tell the company, I don't want this person anymore, and they'll still book this person with me. So, working through different places and realizing the things that they were doing wrong helped me to get to where I am, to do everything in a positive manner in life. That's it.
Yeah, excellent example. Definitely appreciate that. And I'm like, man, and that was actually part of the reason why I quit working in corporate America. Because I was suffering every single day. I didn't want to be in there doing that. It just really felt like a waste of my time. It's like, it wasn't positively contributing to society. It wasn't alleviating suffering for anybody. It was, pretty much just doing work. I mean, it was, very expensive work, but it wasn't fulfilling. And every day, I asked myself, like, why am I still here? Why am I still here? Because it was, it wasn't fulfilling, and it was causing me suffering. So I eventually ended
Yeah.
up choosing myself. I can definitely relate. And I thought about you as I was researching this, right, livelihood. Thought about how you, left that job and pursued your own thing.
Yeah, and I
And
love what I do. I love what I do. I love taking care of people. I love when they come in and they feel, you can see the weight that they are carrying. And when they are off of the table and they're looking at me, they're like, I feel so much better. I appreciate you so much. You just don't know what you've done for me today and all the stuff. And I've had people cry. I've had people hug me. I've had people just write me notes and tell me things that have happened to them and how I help push it to surface and push it out. That is a great feeling. Mhm.
That's awesome. Talk about changing the world.
Thank you.
That means your path is coming in tune with your goals and you're moving towards your true self. Remember, this path is all moving us towards our true self. So keep up that excellent work.
Thank you very much. I will do that.
That's
anybody,
yeah, I was gonna say that's powerful, very powerful, and a lot of people say, they do what they do because they have to, but can you say that you love it? And I kind of got a question, like, some people are in certain circumstances where they believe they have to do occupations that make them suffer for, the bettering of their kids or, the bettering of people they want to take care of. So, would that still be considered right intention if you putting yourself through suffering or more suffering than you have to take care of somebody else?
I'll say yes. Um, definitely if it's, under right intentions. And that's a big part of, we actually talked about it in the physical dojo this week or maybe last week, but you know, the suffering or, the first part of the Four Noble Truths, or the first and second part, suffering and attachment, um, is not any type of attachment. The thing is that suffering is caused via attachment to things that are temporary. So it's a specific type of attachment. And, if you are in a situation like that where you do have to, temporarily suffer for the betterment of others under the Four Noble Truths, knowing that it is temporary is also an alleviation of suffering because it won't last forever. So the idea is that do it as long as you have to or as long as you need to, but also possibly look for something else that is causing you and others around you less suffering.
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that clarity right there too.
I'd like to add almost a little bit different perspective. So I guess two perspectives. One is suffering is an energy. So you go into this place and you're miserable and you carrying that energy and you bringing it back home. So your family, your kids are experiencing that energy. The flip side of that is suffering is also a perspective. So when you walk into that environment, you get to choose how you feel about it. So, again, as long as you're not causing suffering, you can change your perspective on it. And you can have the perspective of, man, I'm doing this for my family. And I feel awesome that I can do this and take care of my family with it. And that's just one perspective. And I'm reminded of earlier in the year, I've been self-employed for, I say out of 25 years, I had a job for 5 years, right in the middle of that. So I've been self-employed all that time. So in February, I got a job, just part-time, just doing something different. It had some perks to it that I wanted to venture into, and because of my perspective, every day for a month or so that I was there, Corona hit in the middle of that. It was in a hospital, so I'm like, I don't think I want to mess around in here with Corona. Just popping off. They don't even know what's going on, so I end up quitting. But every day, about 1 o'clock, I got a headache. And I was suffering every day. And ultimately, it was how I viewed it, my perspective of what was going on. So I caused that for myself. And I didn't notice that. I didn't realize that in the moment. I realized that later. So for you, Emerson, those are the two perspectives. So, energy and, hey, you own yourself. You control you.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense too.
I really like what you're saying, Instructor Cedric. That sounds a lot like Combat Eye.
Oh.
Yeah, a third side to this too, like embracing that suffering and struggling. You may actually find a path that will get you to a place where you relieve your own suffering and everybody else's. But that going along with what Instructor Cedric was saying, pain, that is actually simply energy, just like he said. And you can repurpose that energy to either put it in a blow like we would in combat and make your blow even more powerful, or you can just absorb it by eating your own bitterness. We have this concept of eating our bitterness within that pain by diving into the center of it, so that way you can actually digest it and make it your own. And that can be very empowering within that, field of suffering. It can help you get through it in a way that leave you charging so hard that everybody else will be running to get out of your way.
That's just yeah, that's a very good point. And you reminded me of that's what training is. Like when I first started training and I would get hit, it would hurt and I had an aversion to it. So, fast forward 5, 6 months of getting hit, it don't even show up on the radar. It's not even a blip. You just get hit, you keep going. And that's just part of the practice. You build your internal, whatever you want to call it, your internal fortitude with it. You get calloused.
Right.
That's what
That's
your body does.
to hear you say that, because I used to be afraid of getting hit in the face, and I used to get all kinds of concussions. But the last time I got hit in the face really bad, instructor showed me how to dive right through that concussion, and I've never been afraid of getting hit in the face again. It was like moving beyond it. It was so powerful. It was mind blowing.
And I'd be willing to bet you get hit less.
A lot less, actually. And when I do, it's not a big deal, and I can roll with it.
Anyone else have anything to add on to the conversation?
I'm gonna just go through the list real fast. Anya, did you have anything?
I don't think I have anything at the moment, no.
Being here. Bird, did you have anything?
Is there such a thing as ignoble suffering? Because I feel that some people just suffer for the sake of suffering and not for the goal of enlightenment. And specifically with some of our people, it's just suffering, and they think all suffering is noble. But is it noble if it's not focused towards enlightenment and actually alleviating the suffering of other people?
What you say, instructor said?
Oh no, I didn't say anything. I was just, I guess, processing that. I have several thoughts. You want to jump in on there?
Well, I didn't know if you had something. Yeah, I don't have anything for that one. That's a good question.
I guess my perspective on it is it's all perspective. It's all perspective. That's what I heard. Yeah, I mean, I guess my perspective on it is no. I mean, all suffering is not noble. Is it borderlines on victimization, and you want to have some honor in your victimization. That's what it sounds like. That's how I interpreted what you said. Like, and you like, yeah, I've been suffering and this and to no end. What's the point? What's the intention? So you got to go back to the beginning. Right views, right intentions.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
basically what I was leaning towards too, and I was also going to offer that in Buddhism, one of the biggest causes of suffering is ignorance. So that could be ignorance of the path, which
That's a
would
good point.
also be ignoble suffering.
Y'all answered it. Thank you.
Thank you. Emerson?
Yeah, just want to say, this path is not easy to follow. I'm all, feel me, grateful for it, but it does take you and make you see the nastiest, the disgusting most, parts of yourself and your ego. And to Brother Bird's point, I feel like, not going within myself while having this knowledge would be would necessarily not be noble, because of the things I know. I should be able to, take in all the negative things inside of me and go through that and, like Brother Nathan said, kind of eat your bitterness. So I appreciate it, but I will say I am working hard to get through this difficulty, man. It's difficult for sure.
Well, it's
Yeah,
hard
that's
to
great.
go, and there's a mantra to that, and it goes, the heart rolls and tumbles, and in doing so, it finally becomes a human heart. So,
Oh
it's
my
hard for a
goodness,
when you drop against that path, you can just get right back up and pick up your discipline again, keep going. It's all good. It happens to all of us. We all struggle. We all suffer with this. What we do with it, that's important.
Yeah,
Right.
we just talked about that on Saturday too. So right in line with what we talking about.
and it's powerful and it's so fitting for this situation, Nate. Yeah, because those are the things that make us human. You have to develop. So to your point, Emerson, you gotta struggle and grind for the enlightenment. It's not just gonna be like hitting the switch, like going and oh, I'm enlightened. No, you gotta work for it. You gotta develop and you gotta put in the work. And part of that is something else we mentioned. I think that was Saturday. A live autopsy. You know, the after action report. So you gotta chop down your life and chop down the sufferings you had throughout your life and break it apart and do an autopsy on it and figure out what's going on with it. And that's the work. That's the work. You know, stuff you dealing with since you were maybe 6 years old. You gotta chop that apart and break it apart and see what's really going on in there and how it's really affecting you now. And you gotta do that the rest of your days. And you will level up every time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is so true, man. It's like people, it's kind of this standard going on now in mainstream that, if you go through hard times or, if you had these struggles in the past that, it's okay, kind of people use that as shelter, so digging at it, like you said, it can only bring improvement. So,
And it's a quote. I can't remember who said it, but they said, "An unexamined life is not a life worth living." And that's really what this is all about, is just examining what you do and what you're doing, and is it on the path or is it not on the path? So that goes back to right intention. Like, what am I doing this for? Kim, you got anything?
I wanted to, Bird said about suffering just to be suffering. I remember being that image of myself, and I really thought, I would just suffer in so many relationships and friendships and family relationships and love for, and call myself suffering for the person. And I really, really, in that moment, I believed that I was doing something great. Let's take it back to the conversation from yesterday. I believed it was altruism. I thought it was some type of altruism that I was doing by suffering for these people. Like, oh, perhaps they can't suffer in the way that I can suffer, and I can just take this bitter pill and they can't, so I'm going to just suffer for them. And in the end, the person would just be unloading whatever on me and I would just allow it. And then at the end of the day, they would walk away so light and free. And I would be heavy and just like, oh, well, they didn't even care. They didn't even see how I suffered for them. And it was such a just kind of ridiculous and pitiful, self-victimizing position that I had chosen to live in. I just wanted to speak to that. So no way, no way. Y'all suffering is just not, no, some of it is quite silly. It's quite silly. So, and then I also wanted to speak to what Emerson said about, these things. And like, I wanted to say, when we share these things, what we go through and what we've done, and like, I think sometimes sharing is hard because I know for myself, and I can imagine for other people, you feel silly after you share it, and then someone speaks to it, and then they give you some information that you feel like, wait, I already knew that. Well, I don't know that, but that's so obvious. Why didn't I get that? Why did I have to go through this silliness to get this? And then so we don't share, but that's why we have it. And so, I mean, that's just said about instructor Nathan said about sharing and why it's important, no matter how maybe embarrassed or shame you feel. It's like the only way you're going to lose that suffering and get rid of and overcome that suffering and overcome that embarrassment and that shame is to open it up. So that's all.
Yep, and you spoke to a very important point too, which I didn't cover, but I meant to, is that right livelihood is also about finding your niche. And some people's very personality and their existence is validated upon their ability to suffer. So a lot of people, if they weren't suffering, they wouldn't feel alive. They wouldn't feel like, they wouldn't feel like
That
they are.
sounds like drama.
Like what?
That sounds like drama.
Drama?
Yeah, people who always have something bad going on. They don't know how to just be peace.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I
That's
mean,
drama.
that's how they validate themselves, is through how much they can suffer. So a lot of people don't want to give that up.
No. It's because it's their whole persona. My brother just walked 42 hours in Japan from one area to the other for 42 hours and didn't rest, and because of something that went wrong with someone picking him up for the airport. And I just thought, why did and he loves it. That only came to him because he loves those things. But at the same time, he has a complaint about it, but it's his pride. He wears it like a badge.
Yep. So just to make somebody else be wrong and make himself right, he took a trek of 42 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's another important piece of what suffering do you willingly inflict upon self to make somebody else wrong and make yourself right.
Wow. Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Wow.
There is no way under this instruction and these lessons that you can remain ignorant. If you have ever listened to anything that has been said and you try to, somebody's gonna look at you like you crazy out of this family. Like you just playing right now. I can't take you serious.
That is the beauty of the dialogue. Um, that is actually definitely the beauty of the dialogue. Something I realized only in speaking it to. We were in the group of black belts. We were just having a conversation, and I spoke just talking about I was in real estate for a number of years, and I was speaking about without getting too deep. I had someone who was apprenticing under me use my license illegally. And what I realized in that whole thing is I was a victim. And for 10 years, 15 years, whatever it was, I didn't realize it until I shared it with the group. And I thought about it like I realized my victimization in that moment. So to your point, Lovely, it's a journey. It's a journey. You keep learning and keep developing. I was a victim for 15 years. I've been training for 20. So I had the information, but until you apply it, it's useless.
Understood. Right.
Yeah, that's great. And that's the thing is that, this whole path goes beyond knowledge. Like you could know all of this stuff, but it's like the part of it is what do you do with it? So where is the right action? So you can't just stop at talking about it and right speech. You can't just think about it with right thought. Nope. What's your action? What's your livelihood? What's your effort? What are you mindful of? What's your concentration? Like, which are the next three right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. But it goes beyond just knowledge and talking about it. Got to show and prove.
Yeah, and to Lovely's point, you people look at you foolish if you throughout certain things, and when you're involved in this discipline, and you can look at yourself as foolish too, just for not sharing. And like let's say you go into the dojo with something on your mind, and you see everybody else expressing what's going on with them, and you kind of just sit back, you go home, man. I sometimes I kind of feel like, dang, I gotta deal with this by myself again, versus I had 30 people in the room all willing to, communicate about this problem on my mind. So, man, it just speaks volumes tonight for sure.
Right, yeah, that's another piece of this whole thing is that, we are a network and a collective. So, I said it in, I think, the virtual chat, but nobody has to suffer in silence. Nobody should have to be alone, standing in the corner somewhere. Like, you have a collective to share that stuff with. So, and that's another piece or another sect of the Buddhist teaching, but it's um a basically it's a meditation, but it's also a practice about compassion, and it's called Lojong. And in Lojong meditation, you breathe in all of the suffering of the world, and you breathe out love and compassion. So normally, we want to take in the positive and dispel the negative. But in Lojong practice, you take in the suffering of others and you expel love and compassion and what you want to see in the world. So it's kind of like the reverse.
So is one transmuting what they're breathing in? Because then they're breathing out love and compassion. So are they transmuting? Or they're just putting it in a little place somewhere and then,
It's pretty much like a combination. So it's, as you said, it's both. It's transmutation, but it's also taking it in, but not allowing it to affect you. So as you said, like throwing it away or locking it away somewhere. It's like it's just reading the world. So it's the same as if you went out in the neighborhood and you just start picking up trash and putting it in the trash bag.
Mm.
It's the exact same thing. It's like it's part of her loving, compassionate contribution to the world.
I'm glad you offered up that example because my question was going to be, does it make me messed up that I have no desire to do that?
No.
Cleaning, using the trash, de-blighting the neighborhood. Interestingly enough, and hi everybody, I apologize for my tardiness, but I was the thought hit my mind not long ago to leverage my position with the city and call on make some reports about some of the neighbors near me that just consistently set bulk trash out on the curb before the bulk they pick up, to see if I can get some tickets going on their door for the way they keeping their property. So I don't know, I don't think those are in line, but being an active agent of improving the neighborhood, if that's in line with the long zone meditation, I can dig it. But even still, what does that say about me to not have a desire to heal the world like that? That say I'm way off the path.
No judgment, brother.
Yep, none at all. And I was going to say that may not be your expression of giving love and compassion to the world, but you do it through your teachings, you do it through your actions, you do it through your livelihood. So, that's just one medium of giving love, but you give love in, several other ways. And, this world is definitely a better place with you than it would be without you. So that just, isn't your particular way to express your love and compassion. That's cool.
Bro,
Thank you,
I
brother.
think this discipline changes the world.
What'd you say, Nate?
Being a teacher and an instructor in this discipline changes the world. So you're doing it
I say.
already
I say. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Okay, copy that.
on a different path too. So I mean, you might be a guardian, you may be more of an instructor. Just you'll find that niche and then embrace it, bro. You got it.
Yes, sir.
All right,
What
Kim,
And
go ahead.
I was
what
gonna
came?
say too, okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, lovely.
I was gonna say to Emerson when he was saying about us sharing while we're on the floor together, even when you might not have a chance to get everything out, that all of us are like Velcroed at the hip, so you can just send a lifeline out and you can call one of your relatives, man, call the clan. We can still chop it up. Don't just have to be in a dojo, man.
Facts. Facts. I appreciate that
Word.
too.
Word.
We're all family here.
You
Instructor,
call.
say it.
No, we can move on. We can move on. I think you were calling on Kim if she had something.
Yep, Kim, did you have anything? No, her signal is bad sometimes. So, Lovely, did you have anything?
No, I think I spoke enough. I enjoyed us today, though. You guys are flipping amazing, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I always appreciate you.
The feeling's mutual.
Rada, did you have anything?
No, enjoy taking it all in.
Thank you. Rafa?
Yeah, I do actually. This is my second session, but it's hitting home. It's hitting so hard. I think that bringing up honorary suffering, as instructor Cedric put it, I think that I have lived that life of my livelihood the beginning of me entering into the food system. So, seeing it just play out in this session in the way that it was explained it's crazy because we're living all of this stuff without, kind of, I guess, not knowing that we're living it and having the conversation about it is crazy. I remember when I first started up the store, I it became the Native American to go over the hill and take the arrows for everybody because I had went around the horn and talked to everybody that had been in the system previous, before I had entered it, and nobody really liked me, because I came from the auto industry and I wasn't a foodie per se, and it was like, who is this guy? What is he doing? And all this stuff. So I think I'm thinking back just from this conversation today, I think that I back then said, well, if y'all don't like me or accept me, this is my way of gaining access to you all. I'm going to take on all of the suffering that you all have in the system. So, just by right view, it was wrong view because I should have just been doing my own thing. And I should have, quieted the crowd and focused on what my vision and my passion was, where my heart was, because it was right intention, I thought. But then I let all of this stuff get in the way, and it killed momentum. I could have been further, or not just necessarily further ahead, but just I could have been in a better position in the beginning. But instead, I wanted to take all the arrows for everybody, and I'm gonna suffer for you just to show you that I should be accepted. And that was just the wrong vision, wrong thought, and it just played out. Action wise, it was wrong. Everything. Um, instead of me getting obstacles to become better, stronger, quicker, whatever, to maneuver to finish out this project, I got fed failure because that's what I put out in the universe. So the universe just gave me what I fed it. Hey, give me a failure. Give me a bad build or give me a bad area, give me a bad something instead of, make me stronger. I want to be strong. I want to be better. It literally played out the complete opposite way. And it wasn't until I changed my thinking, became fearless, because I think that a big part of looking back at it, a big part of why I approached it that way is because I was scared and I had a lot of fear in my heart, but that fear is no longer there. So my movement has been much better because my view is everything that we've been talking about in this eightfold path. It is, not 360, but it's a total change from what it was when you began something. And I think we all, and that's the blessing of having these conversations, because I have yet to hear anybody just have nothing to say because they're not living this stuff. It's just maybe they soaking it in and don't have nothing to say, but everybody in these conversations, even in the physical space, is like, we are all living this stuff, and it's so dope to be in a community like that. I felt alone in the beginning of my journey, even just in general, being a social entrepreneur. I'm in the auto industry still as well, and that's a very heartless business industry to be in. People don't have hearts in the auto industry, and here I am. I own a whole city corner with heart, and I hire people who don't have a chance by intention to help the community alleviate suffering for them. They deserve the opportunity just like I deserve the opportunity. And when I got it, I, made sure that I passed the ball. And just seeing this play out in the conversation, you have to look back in my life and look back at like this particular instance, my livelihood. It's just crazy. Like I'm rambling a little bit. This conversation has hit home so hard, but thank you again for this church sermon. This is just amazing. So I'm I'm gonna end it at that. But everything is just hitting home so hard, and I'm honored to even be here with y'all. I love everybody on the call, and see y'all when y'all would see y'all next time.
Love you too. Thank you for being here.
We love you, Rafa.
Did you have anything you to say?
Nope, not at all. That was a good comment. I appreciate what Rafa was saying.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. And I personally appreciate that because out of all of the Eightfold Path, I thought tonight's call would be boring because it's like, the least philosophical one, and it's like, just the most cut and dry. So I didn't know how tonight's call was actually going to go, but I'm glad it went well for everybody. Salama, did you have anything?
What's that?
I said, did you have anything? I was just going down the list.
I just, if I might, I just wanted to say hi, Anya.
Hi. Sorry, I've been not here.
I just wanted to touch voices. Nice. I'll pull you in. How
I'm
are
soaking
you?
it all in. I'm good. How are you?
Great. How was your day?
It was good. Long, but good.
Yeah? All
hmm
right. All right.
How was yours?
It was excellent. Thank you.
That's good.
All right. Yeah, just wanted to pull her in, get her voice in here. That's all.
Thank you for that.
I tend not to talk that much, but I'm always listening a lot. I'm a good listener.
Oh, great.
Can you introduce yourself to the people who don't know you? Just your name, rank, and how long you've been training, and where you from?
Anya. I'm Anya, Denver, and I'm a purple belt. And I've been training, has it been 2 years? I don't know, maybe 2 years.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
She's
All
fierce.
right, Terry.
Everybody watch.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying she's fierce. Everybody on the floor, watch out.
Well, make sure you stop through when you come to town. We'll do the same.
Will do.
My sister's in Denver.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So when I come to visit her soon, I'll come and we'll meet face to face.
Sounds like a plan. Let me know.
All right.
Terry, close us out.
I don't really have anything direct. I've just been absorbing and enjoying every point of views and comments. Um, as usual, you always drop jewels, so I appreciate you all.
We appreciate you. Thank you for being here as always. Kim, this final call. If you got anything to say, yeah, her reception must be bad. All right. Did anybody else have anything to say? Instructor Aku?
No, sir. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you. What was the title for today? I missed the beginning, brother.
Right Livelihood.
Right livelihood. Okay, copy that. Sister Terry, thank you for staying in the fight.
Yes, instructor, thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, family. Love y'all. Appreciate you.
Yep. Love you too. Appreciate you. Instructor Said or Instructor Nate.
I don't have anything.
All right. Well, nobody else has anything.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. Well, good night, everybody. I appreciate you all, and we'll be back next week, same time for Right Effort.
Good night, y'all. Appreciate you.
Good night.
Right.
Not
Bye.
Not
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you, instructors.
Thank you.
Thanks, instructors. Peace and love,
Thank you.
family.
Peace.
Good night.